He once said he doesn't do handshakes before a game. When I lose, I don't want to have touched my opponent. He called himself a lion playing among rats. He scored a goal so absurd, so physically impossible, that the man who invented the award for the best goal of the year gave it to him, and named it after nobody else. This is the story of a kid who was told he'd never make it, who broke into professional football through pure rage and talent, and who spent 2 decades making the impossible look routine. This is why Zlatan Ibrahimović was a monster. Long before the yellow Lamborghini and the tattoos covering his arms, Zlatan Ibrahimović was just a kid in Rosengård, a rough working-class neighborhood in Malmö, Sweden. Son of a Bosnian father and a Croatian mother, he grew up in a home defined by hardship. His parents divorced early, money was tight, and the streets around him weren't kind. He wasn't the coached, polished academy product European football likes to produce. He learned the game on concrete, in tight spaces, surrounded by older, tougher kids. Coaches at his youth clubs sometimes wanted to cut him. His temper was explosive, his discipline questionable. He stole bikes as a kid, got into fights, and by his own admission was seen by many adults around him as a problem, not a prospect. But on the ball, something was different. He had a size and physicality most kids his age didn't, combined with a flexibility and balance that looked almost gymnastic. Teammates remember him doing tricks that professional players twice his age couldn't pull off in training. The raw ingredients were unmistakable. The question was whether the world could contain the personality that came with them. Zlatan's breakthrough came at Malmö FF, his hometown club, where as a teenager he began terrorizing Swedish defenses with a combination of size, skill, and sheer audacity. It didn't take long for bigger clubs to notice. In 2001, Ajax paid what was then a Swedish transfer record to bring him to Amsterdam. It was here that the legend truly started to form, not just for goals, but for moments. One piece of skill in particular, against NAC Breda, became a viral sensation before viral was even a word people used for football. A solo run where he beat 4 defenders with a string of touches and turns that looked choreographed, before finishing calmly. This was the pattern that would define his career. Zlatan didn't just want to score, he wanted to make you watch him do it in a way you'd never seen before. Goals were functional, moments were the point. From Ajax, his price tag kept climbing. Juventus, then Inter Milan, then Barcelona. Each transfer fee bigger than the last, each move proof that wherever Zlatan went, he wasn't just a player being signed. He was a statement being made. It was in Italy where Zlatan built the foundation of his legend. Serie A in the mid-2000s was arguably the most tactically ruthless league on the planet. Defenders like Nesta, Cannavaro, and Materazzi weren't just good. They were some of the greatest defensive minds in football history. Zlatan didn't just survive against them. He dominated them. At Juventus, then Inter Milan, he won league titles as if it was owed to him. 4 consecutive Serie A titles between 2007 and 2010, though 2 Juventus titles were later stripped due to the Calciopoli scandal, a situation entirely outside his control. What separated him wasn't just numbers, it was manner. He'd back defenders down like a boxer working the ropes, using his 6 feet 5 inches frame not as a blunt instrument, but as a tool for the same delicate touches smaller players used. He scored with back heels, with outrageous first touches out of the air, with strikes that defenders simply couldn't process fast enough to stop. Managers who worked with him, Jose Mourinho among them, described a player utterly convinced of his own greatness, and just good enough to make that conviction look like simple honesty rather than arrogance. In 2009, Zlatan made the move that should have been the crowning achievement of his career. Barcelona, the reigning European and world champions, freshly built around a young Lionel Messi. It didn't work, not because Zlatan couldn't play, but because 2 of the most dominant personalities and playing styles in football history were asked to share one attack. Pep Guardiola's system needed fluid movement and selfless rotation. Zlatan needed the ball at his feet, in space, to be the focal point. The relationship between Zlatan and Guardiola soured fast, and Zlatan later described the breakdown in blunt terms in his autobiography, accusing Guardiola of lacking the courage to confront him directly. Whatever the truth, the outcome was clear. Within a year, he was gone, loaned, and then sold back to Italy. For most players, a failed spell at Barcelona would be a career-defining low point. For Zlatan, it was barely a pause. He didn't shrink from it, he weaponized it, using the experience as fuel for the persona that would define the rest of his career, the outsider who didn't need anyone's system to be great. Back in Italy with Milan, Zlatan won another league title. But it was his move to Paris Saint-Germain in 2012 that turned him from a great player into a genuine footballing phenomenon. PSG, backed by new Qatari ownership, was building an empire, and Zlatan was the first true superstar to buy into the project. Over 4 seasons, he scored 156 goals in 180 appearances, an absurd rate for a player already in his 30s, and dragged a club with little recent pedigree into the heart of European football's elite conversation. Then came the moment that transcended even his own outrageous highlight reel. Playing for Sweden against England in 2012, with his back to goal roughly 30 yards out, Zlatan connected with an overhead bicycle kick that curled over the goalkeeper and into the net. It wasn't just technically perfect. It was a goal that seemed to defy the physical logic of the human body. It won the Puskas Award for Goal of the Year, and to this day is regularly cited as one of the greatest goals ever scored, at any level, by anyone. By this point, the persona and the player had fully merged. Zlatan didn't just play football. He narrated his own greatness in real time, and for once, the football was backing up every word. Most elite strikers slow down significantly past 33 or 34. Zlatan seemed to actively reject the concept. At Manchester United, arriving at 34 years old, he scored 28 goals in his debut season and helped the club win 2 trophies, before a serious knee injury threatened to end his career entirely. He came back, not slower, not diminished, but at LA Galaxy in Major League Soccer, scoring on his debut with a stunning long-range strike and going on to terrorize a league that many assumed would be a retirement lap. It wasn't. It was Zlatan doing what Zlatan always did, making anyone who doubted him look foolish. Even in his late 30s, back in Italy for a final chapter with AC Milan, he was still starting, still scoring, still organizing younger teammates with the same intensity he'd shown as a teenager in Malmo. Injuries eventually did what no defender ever managed. They slowed him down. But even then, he refused to fade quietly. So why was Zlatan Ibrahimović a monster? It wasn't just the physical gifts. The size of a center back, combined with the touch of a playmaker, half his weight. Plenty of players have had rare bodies and rare skill. What made Zlatan different was the refusal to accept limitation at any stage of his life. As a kid told he was too wild for academy football. As a young pro overshadowed by bigger, more system-friendly stars. As a player who failed at Barcelona and simply decided that failure wasn't a category that applied to him. As an athlete who kept performing at an elite level a full decade past when the sport typically discards its greats. He turned arrogance into armor and used it to survive in a sport that chews up self-doubt for breakfast. Whether you loved him or found him insufferable, no defender who lined up across from him ever forgot the experience. Zlatan Ibrahimović didn't just play football. He made football feel like a personal argument he was determined to win, every single time. Let me know in the comments, what's the most outrageous Zlatan moment you remember? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe. There are a lot more football legends left to cover.